This is Our People and Mother Earth on KWSO. The Warm Springs Horse Network, or WSHON, has coordinated for the past year and a half with the tribe's Natural Resources Range program to find homes for orphan foals. The group provides a smooth transition for these foals from the wild to domestication. Beth Matanani talks about their efforts.
Since May 1st, 2014, WSHON has been homing baby foals from the Warm Springs Reservation. We have, to date, October 2015, placed into loving corrals over 400 horses, 438 horses to be exact. And we hope to continue working with the range management people on the reservation, the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, as we have gained a very nice relationship and appreciate all the efforts that the guys do for us at the corrals. It's a good thing because it's allowing an additional chance at life for the foals. But in addition to that, and we said this from the very beginning, the efforts that we have done have gained such popularity by goodness. We kept preaching goodness, and we continue to say, this is a good thing that we're doing, and it indeed is. We've gained help from people that we never expected help from. We've shed a light on the horses that have changed it into a positive note versus a negative. We've allowed programs to continue that would have been shut down. And the horses are the integral part of all of that.
Tori Reed talks about how she was drawn into involvement with this group.
And I saw a picture of a Palomino baby, and I kind of have a little soft spot for a Palomino. And she just stole my heart. I took her home without telling my husband for about 2 weeks and randomly told him, hey, come see this beautiful little horse. And she has opened my eyes to how beautiful they are. We didn't know that she was actually gated when I got her. I thought she just ran around like a silly baby growing. And now she's a gated, beautiful Palomino horse that has won me many blue ribbons in the in-hand trail show course. We started last year with a very, very small seed money, lovingly donated by a few of the board members to purchase our first foals. And since then, we have done several fundraisers, such as horse shows featuring some of the foals that have been adopted from the tribe. And we have also in-hand trail shows, expos. We've even sold farm fresh eggs to raise money to help pay for the feed that it takes to take care of these babies, the hay, the grain, because the hay costs are so high this year. Most of our adopters are through word of mouth and their friends telling them how great these babies are, and they come and see how beautiful they are, and they want to go get one or two of themselves. We also have a social media page called Warm Springs Horse Network.
Beth Matanani talks about some of the qualities of these horses.
These horses are not only resilient, but they're really smart. They have become really smart because they've had to survive. And what we have are the survivors. They are so kind and so gentle. I put at the time, a 9-year-old little girl in with a baby, and she had him gentled in 2 weeks. Gentled where we could pet him and love him and put a halter on him, and he followed her around like a puppy. These horses are not just rangy horses. These are really thick-boned, high butts. We've got some beautiful, beautiful animals out there that are really the depiction of the wild Mustang.
For the past year and a half, the Warm Springs Horse Network has coordinated with the Warm Springs Tribe's Natural Resources Range and Ag program to find homes for orphan foals. Shantae Thomas helped form the Warm Springs Horse Network in May of 2014.
I was sent down to the corrals to look at a horse and just noticed that there was some horses that needed some help. And so I went ahead and asked if I could foster them. They were, really young and And so, and they said that would be great. My neighbor up the way takes them. She has 4 stalls set up underneath of a pole barn. And then she has a large paddock area also that we put the horses in. And so those 2 spots have housed the horses over this last year and a half.
She talks about the process of gentling these young horses.
So when they very first come in, we separate them according to their age. The little guys that still need milk, we'll go together so that we can feed them the milk. They get it, anytime between 4 and 6 times a day, depending on their age. When they're really little, you can go ahead and just get a hold of them and start rubbing them down and getting them used to being scratched on, and they like that right away. And generally, they're thirsty when they come in, so we offer them some milk, and they take it pretty readily, most of them. A few of them, we have to squirt some milk in their mouth with a syringe or put it on our finger and put it in their mouth and get them started that way. So that's the little guys. And once they're taking milk from you, they become your best friend pretty quickly, so that's good. And then the older kids, we go ahead and we'll do like a pole gentling method. Reach out and touch them first with a long lunge whip or pole and start scratching them with that. And then just slowly work closer to them until we're scratching them with our hand. And then we're scratching them with a rope in our hand. And then we can get a rope around them pretty readily and start getting them to give to pressure and turn towards us. And it's not very long after that, you've got them used to a rope, and then we halter them. But most of the foals that come in, they go out pretty quickly. So when you're bringing in anywhere between, 5 to, last year we were bringing in sometimes 17 a week. There was not time to gentle every single one and halter train them. And so the adopters were doing that.
Beth Montanani says the group has learned a lot about Warm Springs horses.
Genetically, we've been able to connect with Texas A&M and send in DNA samples. And what we've gotten back over the last 2 years is an incredible amount of thoroughbred blood. We've got probably 50% quarter horse, saddlebreds, and then remarkably, we've gotten back a breed of horse that was basically extinct in 1999, and it's called the Exmoor breed, and they were virtually extinct. But guess what? On the Warm Springs horses, we have had approximately 10 to 15 horses come back Exmoor blood. So yes, there is a real special segment to these horses.
Range and Ag Manager for the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, Jason Smith, says this group has been meeting a critical need.
Well, horse reduction is really an important piece of why Sean Tain's group's here and everything, because we're moving horses out of the system to Shelby, Montana to a feedlot, and they don't take the younger colts. So they've stepped up and given us a real opportunity to put our horses out in the system, in the Northwest, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, California too. Some of the horses are going all over the place. So. Well, a lot of people are interested in the so-called Indian pony. These are original wild, Mustangs on the reservation here, and a lot of tribal members over the years have incorporated some breeding programs into their herds and put a little bit quarter horse, thoroughbred, warm blood, whatever it may be, into the system. So that mixed with the original wild Mustang from this area has been a real hardy horse. And the qualities are, hardiness is the key. You don't have to hardly shoe them. They're excellent keepers. They can live on practically nothing. So if they're given a home, they're going to really put on weight and just look amazing when they're fed properly. Well, the process is once the foals are pulled off their mom, that's when the work begins, because luckily horses ain't as bad as a calf or whatever, because you can wean them somewhat earlier. But if they're too young, then you got to actually incorporate milk, bottle feed them, and so forth. But if you can train them into a bucket and get them to drink out of the bucket, it's way less, intensive as far as the work effort on keeping a foal going. But once they get of that age, then you can start feeding them, the hay and grain pellets and so forth. But it's a full-time job caring for a horse. That's why it's a huge commitment. So when a group comes and helps the tribes and so forth find homes for all these horses, it's just a blessing all the way around.
Jason says horses have always had a presence here on the reservation.
Warm Springs is definitely, wild horse country. Cattle has been a big part of it, and you just about have to have a horse to take care of cattle because you're a horseback rounding up your livestock. The horse market for 10, 15, 20 years, looking at 20 years of a declining horse market, and that's pretty much detoured some horse management on the reservation. So with what we got going with our restoration program and our horse removal program, it's really sparked the interest of some of the community members getting back into the business and managing their herds and having their families being raised as cowboys rather than, when there's nothing going on in the livestock business, you kind of tend to forget it and set aside your Western lifestyle. And that's what we're trying to bring back. So our livestock and range can be managed appropriately.
Beth Matanani of the Warm Springs Horse Network says Warm Springs horses can now be registered.
The foals off of the Warm Springs Reservation are registerable through the American Indian Horse Registry. Once a person purchases a horse and sends in the documentation, photos, purchase agreement, she is then allowed to register the horses as Pacific Northwest American Heritage horses. And that's what we are lovingly and proudly calling our foals and our mare foal pairs.
The Warm Springs Horse Network purchases the orphan baby horses for $50 and sells them to new homes for $125. The money raised goes back toward feeding the next foal for 2 weeks. The Warm Springs Horse Network, on our people and Mother Earth, on 91.9 FM, KWSO.